very much welcome to this webinar. So it is here in Sweden, it's 6:30 in the evening. My name is Gunilla Hamne. I am very happy to be here. I've come to share some things with you. I'm in Stockholm, Sweden, and I expect this to be joyful. That's mine. Thank you.
Yeah. And my name is Ulf Sandström. I'm normally in Stockholm. Right now I'm in a theater backstage in Malmö, where I'll be working later tonight. I hope to share our tools with you and make sure that you go all the way to knowing how to use them when you leave this meeting and getting certified and spreading it to the world.
Good. So then we can go, for me, up to the left corner where Melinda is. Please.
Yes, I'm Melinda Utah. I'm in Los Angeles. I've had an EFT and hypnosis private practice for 17 years. And I met you both a couple years ago. And I'm very interested in what you do, not having to use language, because there are so many people in Los Angeles who speak different languages. And we have a huge homelessness problem. So I'm thinking it might be interesting to use this modified tapping technique for that population.
Wonderful, Melinda. So then we go to Maria Isabel.
Hi, I'm Maria Limardo from Miami, Florida. I met you guys just in Orlando. I'm a medical intuitive, and I'm taking the course because I have a great Latin population here in Haitian population that needs trauma treatment. Thank you.
Welcome. Bienvenida. Okay, and then we go to Tracy.
Okay, is that a different Tracy? Okay, I don't know if I didn't do my picture right.
So Tracy Rowe.
Do I click myself? Okay. Anyway, I met you all in at ASAP in Orlando, and was really inspired. I'm a counselor and an energy worker, and I'm currently in the adjacent to the Boise National Forest in Boise, an hour from Boise, Idaho.
Great. And you want to use it with?
I want to teach. I want to use it with certainly clients, but people in general. I think it would be. In fact, I'm going to be training for professionals in about a month to give professionals some stress management techniques.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So you say, so actually it's, your actual name is not Tracy Rowe.
Yeah, it is, but there was a different picture up there, so I thought maybe it got
okay. No. It's you.
It's you.
So I got confused. Yeah.
No, I'm really Tracy Rowe, and there was Linda Cannon up there. Sorry.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So then we go to Linda.
Hi, I'm Linda Simone. I'm in Clearwater, Florida. I had the privilege of meeting Golf and Ganella and several other of the people on today at ASAP. I'm an intuitive photographer and graphic designer. I've been informally helping people with trauma for years. Amy Frost and I met 7 years ago, and she's been teaching me TTT, and I have Winky on my phone and share him with a lot of people. And I just recently started with Maria. I'm training to be a medical intuitive. And I'm page 90 on your book, Maria.
Okay.
So I look forward to seeing where this takes me.
Okay, good. Thank you so much, Linda.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So, and then we go to Sherry. And how is it? You could speak or you could not? I don't get it. You sent the message for her. Yeah, so
she can't speak, but we can read her message.
Wait. I'm a mental. So Sherry says, I'm a mental health counselor in San Agustin, Florida. I use EFT with clients, and I'm excited about adding TTT to my toolbox. Was that correct, Sherry? So you make a thumb up. Okay, good. Very good. So then we go to Bianca.
Hello, I am an EFT trainer in the Paris region or all over France. I have tried to put my foot into with mistreated women, but it didn't succeed, so I'll try another time. and we hope to have you in France perhaps next year, year two, because I think that will kick it off. But it's in the plan, and I hope it becomes true.
And you're joining us again. That's nice.
Yes, but, yes. I've just had a fire, so there are lots of people around me cleaning up my place.
Okay.
If I'm not focused, it's because it's something.
What, you had a fire in your house?
Yeah. I got away alive, so it's.
Yeah, we're happy for that.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Bianca. And then we have Dan.
Hello, my name is Dan. I live in Nacka, Sweden, and I had Ulf as a teacher in Havening. I'm most grateful for his way of teaching. Thank you. And now I'm a certified practitioner in Haven.
Wonderful.
Yes, it feels fantastic. The first time I heard about TTT was from Sarah Bern. I went to 2 courses in EFT, and I really look forward to get to learn this new tool. It's new for me, so I'm grateful for being here today.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you. And
you said you work with clients, one-to-one?
One more time.
You work with clients, you said, or?
I look forward to do some more work on clients. I have just doing for practice until now, but I want to do this a lot more in the future. I want to go down in time in my other work and do this for more time. And I had this book too. You read about TTT, and I was so inspired from that.
Good. Thank you so much, and welcome. Välkommen.
Thank you.
So good. So then we go to Tulu, Aduke.
Good afternoon. I'm Tolu Aduke. I'm a Reiki practitioner from Baltimore, Maryland, and I also do a rites of passage program for girls from 14 to 18, and that's what I'm going to use this for.
Good. Wonderful. Welcome so much.
Thank you.
And Reggie, it's your turn.
Hello, my name is Reginald. I'm a spiritual healer looking to get certified in TTF, and I've been working with OFF on working towards a goal of finding a true way of expressing that to people and helping them to be able to facilitate that in this town I am, which is Lincoln, Nebraska. And glad to be here, and looking forward to learning a lot of great things.
Good, great. Welcome so much, Reggie. And then Jessica Silfup.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, very well.
Good. All right, I'm Jessica. I'm from Sweden, Stockholm. I'm here in a private capacity, but I've read a bit about EFT, and then I stumbled across TTT, and I thought it had could have great applications for political activists, and also because I've been politically active all my life, I've known a lot of trauma in regards to demonstrations or things like that. So, and for people who might need help but might not have the finances to get help. Also, I have a lot of friends in Australia, and there's a lot of people who might not be able to afford mental health care, but who might have been traumatized by the Catholic Church and a lot of abuse. And I thought I could pass this on to them, possibly as some sort of self-healing tool.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
there's some. We have some very good connections in Australia also, so you can link up with if you know with them. So that's good.
Just to pass it on to other people to self-help, basically.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jessica. Good. And then we have Chris and your dog.
And Bella.
Bella. Okay. Chris and Bella. Welcome.
She's a healer too.
Mm.
We are in Hermosa Beach, California, so closest to LA. And I work in a private practice as a therapist and in schools, and looking to use TTT, EFT, all the T's. Right now I'm certified in EFT, but in schools and also with everyone I know, but I travel a lot internationally, and there's a lot of different ways that I volunteer. And so this really speaks to being able to bring a piece of me there versus just bringing clothes or other things that I've done in the past. So I'm really excited to bring this internationally to kind of meld those passions.
Oh, that's wonderful. So what internationally, where have you specifically been working?
Oh gosh. Nicaragua, India, Africa, different places in Thailand. I mean, just all over. So the next place I'm probably going to go back is Nicaragua. There's a school there, 2 schools now, with kids that have been through a lot of trauma, and it's really, it's a really poor area. And since I have a relationship with them, it would be nice to continue to go back and now bring this, having this skill, you know, versus volunteering in other ways.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You guys in Orlando, so I'm very excited because I've heard all about you for a few years.
Yeah, good. Thank you. And then we have Linda, one more Linda.
Okay, so I had to unmute myself.
Yeah.
I am Linda Frank, and I am in Huntsville, Alabama. I met you guys at the ASAP conference in Orlando. I'm an art therapist and just completed an energy psychology training and I've been using EFT and energy medicine, and just interested in doing the training to see what other techniques might be easily translatable to teach to clients. And I also would like to get into some trauma relief, but I'm in the process of just becoming comfortable enough to do this with clients, and looking forward to taking it to other places and teaching to just everybody I know that would benefit from it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Linda. That's wonderful. Yeah, what a fantastic group of people. Yeah, so many people who will benefit from you sharing these tools. So that's wonderful. So please, Ulf, you start with some introduction to this.
Yep. So, introduction to this. Well, are we going to share the slide, or we're just going to talk a little bit first?
I think we talk a little bit first.
Okay, talk a little bit first. So, well, you're here, you know, you're all here for different reasons. Some of you already know EFT, some of you know TFT, some of you have been working with people, and some of you, it's maybe the first time looking at this. Basically, what we're doing is it's on a first aid and emotional hygiene or emotional literacy level, because the tapping is more or less like washing your hands. You do it to keep them clean so that you don't get sick when you eat food. But you also do it if you get a wound, you clean it with the same soap and water, and that can actually help heal the wound. So the same tapping can offer relaxation, and relaxation triggers the body's immune system to start healing. And so depending on how you use it, anybody can use it, just like anybody can wash their hands and give first aid. We emphasize the fact that this is very simple, but don't let it fool you. It's very efficient, and the results are extremely sustainable. We've been working with people for 10 years that we still know that were treated for the first time 10 years ago, and the results are completely consistent. We've checked out thousands of case studies in Congo, and we've been doing a study there lately and we've been coming back to places a lot. So we really feel that this is such a simple thing that everybody should know, and we're hoping that you will help make sure that everybody does know. Because if everybody in the world takes care of their autonomous nervous system and de-stresses and de-traumatizes, we believe that the world will suddenly be peaceful. That's our motto, to ease suffering and prevent violence. Because we believe that hurt people and heal people heal people.
Mm. Yeah, so that's really, I mean, that's our starting point, is just from practicing, I mean, from seeing that this tool can release so much things and make people so happy, because people, I mean, since it's called trauma tapping technique because we specialized in trauma, and because our mentor, Dr. Carl Johnson, he always said that, you know, help those who are traumatized, because nobody says that they can really help them, because in many circumstances it's said like trauma, you have to live with it, and we have seen the opposite, that most people don't have to, or nobody. That's why we also have this other this other saying that healing is possible. So it is to ease suffering and prevent violence, and healing is possible, and that's why we always mention this word joy also, because it is so much joy that you can bring when people are released from inner tensions, and with this tool that is possible. And just like Ulf said, that even if it looks super simple and some people will take it as a joke, really as a joke, it is super powerful, like something that is, I sometimes call it like the key, you know, like the language that the body and the mind really understands. So it is like tapping in, you know, doing this sequence of this tapping, the whole body and the mind, I mean, our whole existence gets it so well, this kind of rhythmical way of healing. And then you can look at all the science and what actually, you know, what happens when it comes to neurologically or energetically and on different levels. But it is really something that very easily you tap into the whole nervous system, you tap into the possibility of healing, which is wonderful. So we were thinking actually of showing this a PowerPoint that we showed in ASAP. So for you who were in our presentation, have seen these slides before, but we want to use them because we made it then for that event, which means it is very new. So I'll try to share my screen here,
and also when we show it here, you have a chance to just stop and ask questions, and we can dwell on one of the points, because we were doing it very fast at ASAP because we had a time limit. So what we want to do is to just give you ideas about how we've been using this, where we've been using this, what have we done to spread it, so that you understand how you can spread it.
So the presentation we had at ASAP now in May in Orlando was called An Energy Psychology Around the World, Creating Ripples of Healing. And so then we just started with this one, so you will see this one. Oops. So that was to introduce you to part of the way we work, which is a lot with music and singing. So these are all. Sorry.
Wait a minute. So somebody's mic is on, generating a lot of noise. Can everybody just please mute your mic? I don't know who it is.
No, it's gone. No.
No, it's not. It's Stephanie. Stephanie, can you hear us? There. Good. Thanks, Stephanie. Perfect.
Yeah, so I mean, we work a lot in different ways with this tapping and with other techniques. So the song that you saw is the song that was created because we also share like like Dan, who is here, who has done the training of havening. So this is actually a self-havening song, which is also energy psychology for us, and that's why we also decompose the word energy psychology. What is it? So those are all community leaders from a refugee camp in the north of Uganda. They come from South Sudan, so they are refugees in the world's largest refugee camp called Bidi Bidi. So we had a training there with our colleagues from the area, Placid, and then they did this song. So that is just to introduce you to a part of our world. So then comes this that we started asking at, what is the world? And what is energy psychology? And what is a ripple of healing? Because that was the title of our presentation.
Yeah, so we had to ask ourselves, what's the world? So the world is 8 billion people. 450 million people are estimated to be mentally ill in one way or another. There are 22 million refugees, and we have approximately 3,000 suicides per day. So the question is, what can we do about it?
Yeah, and then, we work in different places, and in Rwanda there is this word called turikumwe, which means, that we are all together, that we are here in this world together. And by that we mean that we don't come and see that somebody, needs that or that this is my client or this, but we are people together, and we need to heal this world together. So this word turikumwe, which means we are all here together, is also part of our quotes and the words that we use.
Yeah, so there's a professor in global mental health called Vikram Patel, and he had a vision, and his vision fits perfectly into what we think. It's called the Sundar vision. It's an acronym. The S stands for to simplify the language.
Mm-hmm. And unpack treatments, meaning that, what is complicated, you can unpack it, just like we have done with TTT, that came from TFT, thought field therapy, and making it to a version that is very easy to transfer. That's what is the specialty about the TTT. It is unpacked from something that is more complicated.
And before we do deliver, I'll say simplifying the language is necessary, because we're talking about psychosocial issues, and we have schizophrenia and bipolarity and hypermanic, and all of those things are ideas created in the DSM manual to help consider a diagnosis it's a diagnostic tool for people, but in reality, most people who are traumatized have multiple symptoms from multiples of these diagnoses. So it doesn't really help to use that language in a wide aspect. It's much easier to simplify it into somebody not being able to sleep or somebody needing help in open spaces. Mm-hmm. So that's part of what he means by simplifying the language.
And deliver, he means deliver where people are. And that's also what we do, and we always encourage, we also did it during the ASEP conference, encouraging people to do this reach out, we call it humanitarian reach out, to reach people and places, like many of you were mentioning already in the beginning of this. Oh yeah, I want to, reach these people and here. Meaning deliver it where people are, so that people don't always have to look for, people don't have to go to the hospital with many things, or in other parts of the world where it's very, it's costly for somebody to go to a place where there is a specialist. But to make it possible for people, to teach people in the communities to assist each other, that is really what we see is a way to create more peace in this world. Because if everybody's going to go to one person with a client called client and the practitioner, or even then this world can never heal. So we have to distribute this to many people.
Yep. And then it has to be affordable. In some countries where the infrastructure is challenged, some of you are working with people in challenged communities, even if it's free, that doesn't mean it's affordable, because it's not always possible for a person to travel to a free treatment or to take time off. So affordable also means efficient.
Yeah, and reallocation, meaning also this, that again, connecting back to deliver, to reallocate the resources to where people are. So not everything is in the city, but again, to see to that things are in the place where they are most needed.
Yeah, so everything starts somewhere. And did somebody have a question there? No. So everything starts somewhere. And if you have a question, when we have the PowerPoint open, we don't see if you raise your hand. Don't be polite. Just unmute your mic and say, oh, by the way, I have a question. That's fine.
Yeah, so was there anybody having a question on this? So please say it, because it's because you don't see the chat either when sharing my screen. So.
Okay, no questions. So, well, all of you started somewhere. All of you have a reason why you are wanting to be in this webinar and why you would like to learn a technique. It could be a person you met, it could be a relative, it could be yourself, it could be anything. It could be activism in politics, realizing people can be really traumatized during a demonstration. So we usually tell one of our stories, and this is Gunilla's story from South Sudan.
Yeah, so this was how this journey, in a way, started for me. And that was, under an acacia tree in South Sudan. At that time, it was actually Southern Sudan, because it wasn't yet an old nation. And there was still war going on. So I met this young girl, Adut, who was at that time 12 years old. And she was telling me stories from the war and how she lost her family because she became an orphan during the war. And you know how it is. I mean, I'm sure you all have been through this. And when you start asking questions, whether you're a therapist or a friend or so, you can see how I could see in this young girl how she was suffering when I was asking all these questions, because I was there as a journalist. I needed a story for the magazine I worked for children's rights, which is all, it's all very good and very good to share stories. But I could see how she was suffering for each of these things, because, if you need a good story, you have to ask all those very fantastic questions, and that brings out all the senses, how it looked like, how it felt, what she was dressed like, all this, which are also at the same time as it gives a good story, they are also re-traumatizing questions, because you're bringing back the memory very, very vividly. So for me, the question rose within me, I want to be able to assist people like her with something, not only telling their story, but rather something that could heal that charge that story is bringing back to her.
Yeah, and just like you are coming to us, we came to somebody else. Gunilla, when she came back, she tried to find a person who had experience, a pioneer, who had practical experience of working in zones of post-conflict, trying to help people on a layman peer-to-peer in that kind of model. So she found Dr. Carl Johnson in the US.
Yeah, and he's a trauma expert, and he still is. He finished his psychology studies in 1975, which was in the middle of the Vietnam War, and a lot of soldiers were coming back. And in 1980, there was this, when the post-traumatic stress syndrome was first time mentioned, that there was something like a post-traumatic stress syndrome that came as a diagnosis. So he worked a lot with traumatized soldiers in the US, but he also had this vision that he should share this with the world, because he found it that finally, when he learned this tapping, he learned TFT, which for some of you is familiar, that is thought field therapy, which is the original tapping technique that was created by Dr. Roger Callahan in California in the beginning of the 1980s. So when he had been working in Carl, he had this vision, and he had been working with this tapping or with this TFT, and seeing that finally his clients really healed very well. And this vision of sharing it with the world, he actually went then to Kosovo, because, there was this war on the Balkan in the late 1990s and the beginning of 2000, after the Yugoslavia was, divided after the death of Tito. So he went there to share this tool and saw that it was, giving very big results. And he wrote actually the first scientific article about TFT that was published in the Journal of Clinical Psychology in 2002 or 3 in the US. So from him, we could see that this is possible. And I asked him if I could, learn from him. And that's how we first came to hear what he was saying, it's the first thing he said, that there should be no suffering, because people who have lived through trauma, they have already suffered enough. So don't ask all those questions.
Yeah. So, yeah, and he also said two more things. He said you should reach the most vulnerable, and then you should lie about your results, because they're probably too good to be true. And we found this to be less true now. People are accepting that these methods actually give quick release. There's more research that shows mechanisms that are plausible behind it, such as memory reconsolidation theory, and how actually stress levels are lowered in the body. So hopefully none of us will have to lie in the future at all about it. We don't lie. It's tongue-in-cheek, it's a joke, but he did say that.
Yeah, and that was his experience, because the study that they published in the Journal of Clinical Psychology was heavily criticized because it was said that the results were too good.
Yep. So then you went to Rwanda.
Yeah, so I mean, with Carl, we went to Rwanda, and that's how this TTT was developed, because we saw directly that I saw that this is a technique, even with this TFT, that Dr. Johnson was teaching there when we went there together, because we went to Rwanda together. He as my mentor, and I was documenting, because I am a journalist also as a therapist, but I'm also a journalist. And during that time, I could see that people got confused from what he was teaching. This TFT, he knew it very well, but for him, he knew it specifically to treat each and every person, which is different from what became our vision, to share it with many, to make it possible to reach very many people. And then certain parts of the TFT, because I was trained in TFT in Sweden, I saw that with those parts, people didn't remember, because there is this fantastic exercise. It's nothing that it doesn't work and doesn't have its meaning, which has a lot of eye movements in it, but people thought you looked very crazy when you did it. And also he used muscle testing. I don't know how many of you who have been using muscle testing, but it actually both looks strange and it's not easy for anybody to learn very fast. And for me as a journalist, what I'm trained in is to make people understand and see what the story is, meaning what's the point about this whole thing. So when I saw people getting confused, I started having ideas about how this could be changed. And then when Ulf and I started working together, that's how we created this trauma tapping technique that was simplified from those things that made people confused, and seeing, oh, you can probably make it like this, and still it will work.
Yep. And so this is Women Outside City of Joy Evangelist project in Congo. She has several cities of joy. These are women survivors of sexual abuse. And the sign on the wall is really what it's all about. They have 6 months to transform pain to power.
Yeah, and
part of the ripples that are created are by actually going to places that need it the most, and spreading it to organizations that already work with a lot of people.
Yeah, so that is how it is. I mean, this how to spread this. It is for people who already are connected to have another tool. That's what we often say. It's not that this will replace anything. It doesn't have to replace, even if you can use it as it is. But for people who are already doing work in different parts and using other techniques, like in this place, this City of Joy in Eastern Congo, they already have a lot of other things that they do with drawing, with dancing, with music and therapy and yoga. And then they get this, which is actually with the TTT, you can have it as a key to open the door to the inner self. It is, and then without that pain, you open the door and can see that, aha, yeah, I can actually heal, and then continue doing those other things. So it is a tool that easily is adopted into many different already existing projects, organizations, and other techniques.
So Carl Johnson said, reach the most vulnerable, those who nobody is reaching. And you don't have to go very far to do that, because there are always vulnerable people in every society, no matter what society. Even in a gated society or community, there are vulnerable people. So we usually follow Carl Johnson's advice and just trying to find the most vulnerable ones. So we were asked to go to one of the Greek islands, Lesbos, where a lot of refugees pass from Turkey over in small rafts. And when we were there, we weren't actually called upon to help the refugees. We were called upon to help those who were really stressed, and that was the volunteers.
Yeah, because we came there and then we were sitting having, we had breakfast at Maria's place. Maria, she was her name, the Greek woman who had the cafe in the harbor. And she said to us, I can really understand that these volunteers who come here, because there was a lot of people coming there at that time in 2015 to assist. But they wanted to assist so much. So she said that, I can see they are screaming, at the refugees when they are coming to the shore, and some are snatching these babies and running away with them because they think they have to, they should save them in that way. And the mother and the father is standing screaming, thinking that somebody has stolen their baby, when they finally reach the shore to Europe. So through that, we saw that what really was needed was for these volunteers to be calm and to be able to stand on the shore with some kind of grounded safety, instead of being overwhelmed by having not slept, because everybody wanted to receive each and every boat that came in. And at that time, they came so many boats with refugees each day and each night. So they didn't sleep. And, even after 3 days without sleep, you can go into panic. You can go and have a lot of panic reactions. So it was a very complicated situation.
Yeah. So when we talked to the refugees and asked them how do they feel about stepping out of that boat, they would jump ashore, they would smile, they would hug everybody they see, they would kiss the ground, and then they would look for something to make them feel safe and welcome. And that's where we understood that the simplest and purest form of humanitarian outreach in this situation is the TAS method.
Yeah, because TAS is the most basic energy psychology, or the basic, grounding technique, which is tea and smile. You offer somebody a cup of tea, because this was in the time of winter, it was very cold, and a smile, meaning that you actually smile and receive people, making the person you're meeting understand that you are there, that it's safe, instead of screaming or being very stressed. So that's how we created this most basic technique, TAS.
So energy psychology, just so you get ideas on how you can spread it in your community, there are so many ways of doing it. The principle is, if you calm down the nervous system in a person, they will start to heal. If their nervous system is in a hypervigilant state, the healing doesn't begin. And there are so many ways of moving energy, because energy psychology stands for using energy to help psychology. So the first thing we found, that when somebody is out of sync with themselves, when somebody's traumatized, what happens is their body becomes out of rhythm. They lose rhythm.
Yeah, so one of the things is, of course, dancing, which is in many places something that people do, as soon as there is some music. And the second one is then, with rhythm comes easily singing, for those who like singing.
Yeah. So rhythm, singing, and dancing, and after that, it's easy to add tapping.
Yeah. So that is again and then of course the smiling. So all those components is something that is often available. I mean, tapping is there, it's easy. Dancing can just be moving, because when people are traumatized, they're really frozen and completely out of sync.
Yep. So energy psychology doesn't have to be what you think it is. Tea and smile is something we discovered talking to them, what was actually that helped them. Another thing is that there are so many ways to get your body back in rhythm and balance. And we made this video showing a Japanese self-energy massage called Do-In, which is just basically a short exercise of 10 to 15 minutes you can do to get associated in your body and start all energy flows. And we went to a place where people were taught TTT as the main principal method, and then they were taught do-in. Just, you know, we were intending it to be a way for them to relax or just get some ideas for a new way to
like a morning exercise, like a self-massage or so. And then when we came back, it was like they said that for a follow-up, I mean, because this was a training they did, this was actually both in Rwanda and Eastern Congo. And then when we came back and asked, so how did it go? They said, yeah, this first treatment of TTT, we had this and this and this result. And then the second treatment we do in, and they said, aha. So for them, it was another treatment because people were, felt so healed by just doing this. It's like tapping, or to say clapping all over your body. I mean, you really, probably some of you have been doing this do-in. I learned it when I was doing my shiatsu training, which is acupressure, from Japan, and do-in is also from Japan. And just by doing that, and it actually connects also, if any of you know somatic experience of Peter Levine, this that making yourself come home in your body when you dissociate, or when you have lost the sense of yourself when it's so uncomfortable in the body. So that is why you put this question, when does it become a treatment? It all depends on the situation, how people do it, and how you engage.
Yeah, so one of the most important things is for healing to take place, and this comes for you if you're working with kids, and kids or grown-ups or adolescents or people at any stage, because the ACE study, Adverse Childhood Experience Study, shows that being abused or being traumatized from a traumatizing experience doesn't necessarily lead to post-traumatic stress, but never having felt safe or attached does. Lack of attachment is very traumatizing. So there can be loving parents in a great home that don't have time for their kids because their career or what they have to do to create an income actually doesn't allow them to be present. So one part of energy psychology is being present and creating a mutual safe space. When you create that space and it's believable and it's credible, and that can be created in a matter of minutes, then healing starts.
Sorry. Yes, so this is from one of the prisons in Rwanda, because we worked in all the prisons actually in Rwanda. And people are, in prison for many different reasons, and many of them still for the genocide of 1994. And there we are, and I can say that they have been the most focused participants in any trainings we have had, except for you, of course, who are in this group. But for others, it has been because they really, for them to have something that actually can help them with things that they are carrying, because nobody really feels sorry for somebody who has committed crimes, and being a victim in that way, you could say, in quote, easier, because actually there is a space for you to feel sad, and people will actually do their best to assist you. But here also, because just like we teach this simple TTT, which is simplified of TFT, EFT, we also teach that was in the beginning in the video, the simple part of the self-havening. And this is actually, for you who know Tapas Fleming, who created a TAT, Tapas acupressure technique, which I'm also trained in here in Sweden by Tapas. We used to do this head holding, both for yourself and then for others. And then when we were in this prison, we said, yeah, now first you do it for yourself. And we will show it here also, because we always use it when we are in our trainings, because it's also a very simple and very efficient tool. And then when we said that now we do it on each other, for us we meant that one will do it for the other, holding the hands around the head of the other person. Since we are Swedish, we have no problem in touching other people, so we do also with this tapping, we do the tapping on the body of other people, of the person. So then they did it mutually, really creating a mutual safe space by holding each other's heads. And we were so fascinated by that. It was such a peaceful way of the peace that they created between themselves.
Yeah. So what we want to say with this is that you should regard TTT as one of the examples of how energy psychology can be applied to oneself and to others, but the principle is that of being present and offering a safe space and then doing a kind of intervention in a limited time. So that, I mean, there's music, there's rhythm, there's so many ways to spread it. If you get the base method right, and you will, because before we finish today, you will know self-tapping. Then there are so many ways to do it. And this is one of the ways we spread the message, by printing a calendar.
And like Dan was showing the book, so, and we just say always, pass it on. So for anybody wanting to pass that book on, either you buy a copy from Amazon to somebody, or you ask us if you don't have possibility to that, we pass on the PDF of the book, because we want people to read it and have it.
Yep. And we also did together, we collaborated with a creative agency in New York, Los Angeles, to create a gender and ethnicity unbiased instruction movie with Winky that can be used just to show to people this is how you can use tapping.
Yeah, and we are now finishing a smartphone application for both Android and iPhone or Apple. That will be soon in, I think it will be 15 different languages. And Bianca was here. She has helped us with the French also.
This is Tracy with the video. Is that going to be available for the public?
The video is already available on the site, well, on both our websites. So peacefulheart.se and selfhelpfortrauma.org. You'll get a mail after this webinar where you have all the links, so don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is the app. So it is, I mean, the app is based on the film, the video, the cartoon that is on the Self-Help for Trauma and peacefulheart.se. But the instructions will be, I mean, the short instructions will be in 15 languages.
Yep. So ripples of healing. We were thinking, this is just to give some ideas, who should know this? Who can you teach this to in your community that can be spreading it? Because one of the parts of the Sundar Vision was to make it reachable, accessible, right? So what if we teach it to fMRI technicians? That's one of the few places including the dentist's office and the gynecologist, is where people actually get claustrophobic and stressed. Prison wardens should know it. First responders, of course. Teachers in school and people in church. That's where people go, hopefully on Sundays.
Yeah, and then we're also thinking of you can be imaginative, in football coaches and massage therapists, of course, because then you can relax more before hairdressers, perfect time for doing some tapping. Cab drivers, meeting so much and hearing so many stories when you're sitting and assisting, and bartenders and tax collectors. We're thinking of some people who meet a lot of stressed people.
Yeah. So ripples of healing means reaching out to communities. And if you think about it, if you want something to reach many people, you have to scale it. You cannot go there and teach people one by one. Some people already have other people listening to them. They're the community leaders in a different part of the community, right? So yes. In church, it could be people working in church. In a football place, it could be the actual trainers.
Yeah, so so these guys, they're actually some of them who composed the song that you saw in the beginning, the self-havening song. So they are from this group. So they are all South Sudanese refugees in Uganda. So we did a training for 50 community leaders and certified them in tapping, so that they then could go back to, because they lived in different parts of the refugee camp that, it's 800,000 people, refugees in Uganda. So they could go back and share it, and they do it, So it is a very good way of scaling, and it was created by one of our colleagues in Rwanda who started working in refugee camps there, Merigo. And when she started doing it, she said to them, I teach you now, but each of you have to teach at least 5 people each and tell them to do the same. And that's how you can spread this.
Yep. And the same way was when Emily Snyder at the office of ACIP, she saw in a New York Times an article about Dr. Abu Hilal, who's helping refugees from the Syrian war. So ACIP funded a trip for us to go teach Abu Hilal and 30 psychosocial workers, psychiatrists, doctors, helpers, these methods so that they could apply them and spread them.
Mm. And they were all, I mean, professionals working both with refugees in Turkey and in Syria at that time. Yeah, and then we also are, you know, just finishing now actually a clinical study in Congo, together with Dr. Peter Stapleton in Australia, and that's also Germando, who is sitting here behind the camera, who is our colleague in Eastern Congo, and the results are very good.
Significant. The word researchers like is significant.
Exactly.
Yeah. So another example of ripples of healing is that it's easy, you know, it's easy to say, I would like to make a big change. I'm going to try to get some money and a grant and get it all together. And I want to reach this part of the community. I want to reach it in that way. And the more you define an exact goal, in one way, it simplifies to show you what steps you need to fulfill to get there. We find that this may sound a little wooey to you, but the universe actually provides quite a lot if you give it a chance. So we never think of a training with 1 or 2 people as a small training or a big training, because we don't know where that is going to go. And in this case, this is a beautiful example of ripples of healing and the domino effect that can happen over time if you just have faith and keep connecting people.
Yeah, because this is Sharif Choukou. He's from Chad, from the country in the middle of Africa. And we were there having a training in 2013. And he was very, you know, thought it was very good. He worked with refugees, with the International Organization of Migration afterwards. And then we met Abdul Salam in Sweden, who was a refugee from Darfur. And refugees from Darfur are in Chad. In Sweden, because he had become a refugee in Sweden. But he started some work back in the refugee camp where he grew up and was going to Chad. So then we said that, why don't we connect you to Sharif, and he can, you know, come with you and do some TTT with the refugees. So they did that now in April, going to 5 different refugee camps of all Darfurian refugees. And some of them have been there since 2003 and even earlier during that crisis period. And I talked actually to Sharif yesterday and asking him how much he had heard back. But finally, he said that when he had counted all who had been part of these workshops, they were over 1,100 or so from these 5 refugee camps. And several of them have asked to become, you know, volunteers to continue the work, because they saw and felt themselves so much healing from using this technique, and saying that, wow, I've come back to life after so many years in this refugee camp.
Yep. Yeah, and also in society, it's important to reach the perpetrators. Hurt people, heal people, and you need to understand that the victims and the survivors sometimes may not ask for help or may get help, but the perpetrators also need help to handle the situation. And we've been in 14 prisons in Rwanda.
Yeah, so that is, you know, as I said before, with the other image from the women doing the head holding, that also this TTT, you know, has been loved so much, and you can really see change, that many of them come to reconcile with themselves and people around them, instead of having a lot of aggression and arguments, you know, during the time, and finding possibilities to do something useful while in the prison.
Another example of ripples of healing is we taught Christine Holthwys, actually in one of these webinars, wasn't it, Gunilla?
Yeah.
Yes?
She participated in one of these webinars, and we met also at the ASAP conference in Los Angeles. And then we have been in contact, and first we thought this, you know, she had learned other forms of tapping, but then she started to teach this. She's a medical doctor herself and working a lot with the foster care in Costa Rica. So now they have used it, or I mean, they have approved it as one of the techniques for the national foster care in Costa Rica, and now also introducing it to the whole school system in Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then another thing that people say to us when they do our trainings, they say, "Oh, I just need to practice some more before I can go out there. Oh, I'm waiting to get more time. I'm waiting to get more money. I'm waiting for people to be more open. I really tried, but it didn't work." And we really want to encourage you that there is always enough. There's always enough to do some difference. It may not be the difference you had in mind, but if you just let go of that idea, there is so much that can be done with almost nothing. And this person, Placido Encubito, our communications officer in East Africa, he is a prime example of this.
Yeah, I mean, he started out of nothing. He actually owns nothing, I would say. But when he had healed from use, I mean, when he learned and had this tapping done and started using it himself, when he saw the healing that happened in himself from the life he'd been living, because he himself has survived, 2 massacres and, living in poverty and as a refugee. And I cannot mention that. But he directly, when he saw that, that he could heal with these tools, he wanted to share it. And that's what he's doing all over, in Tanzania, in Kenya, Uganda. He just was in Uganda now working with Congolese refugees, back in Rwanda himself, in Congo. So there's always possibility, and even a woman who was selling fruits in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, who he just saw that, wow, she's so stressed, why don't I share it with her, So he has become just like Ulf and myself, that we share this wherever we are, whether it's in a bus, in a subway, or in a restaurant, or if you meet somebody sitting in an airplane, everywhere you meet people when you start, opening up for the possibility of sharing this. So he's has become a huge healer, and he finds it, wow, I'm so grateful to be able to share this, because people really heal, and also to pastors who are, who can do it in their churches, because he is himself a Christian. So yeah, it's always possible. There's always enough.
Yeah. Another example of that is that something can start small and create a big ripple. We kind of like, we do a lot of skiing in Sweden. And when you go skiing, you can go either in the green hill, the red hill, the blue hill, or the black one. And they're made for skiing. So you know where you're going. It's safe to go there, and you can just ski. And then sometimes if you feel that, you're a little bit wild and crazy and want to have some fun, you go outside the normal piste, which is what is called where you go skiing. So you go off piste. And off piste just means that you're doing something a little bit outside the ordinary, and it can be so much fun and give great results. So this is the story of Salim in Afghanistan.
Yeah, and our off-piste stories are those when we have been training people in kind of not strange places, but not ordinary training places, definitely not. And so I met Salim in New York in the UN building some years ago. And he was there for some theater work he was sharing with. He asked me, because he knew somebody who knew me, and said that, yeah, I heard about this tapping. Could you show it to me? And I said, yeah, sure. But we only actually had the train ride from one station to another. In this case, it was from Wall Street to Bronx, because we're going for a theater in Bronx. And so on that train, I was showing him TTT and giving him a treatment and showing him how to do. And then he went back to Afghanistan 1 week later, and then he wrote us an email saying, yeah, so these women, these widows of war that we are doing this training with, called the memory box, bringing out the small things that they still have from their husband who died in the war. It gets very emotional and very tense. But now when we have this tapping, wow, they can tell their stories without suffering.
Yep. And so you might ask, how much of a miracle can you expect? What is reasonable to expect? Because many people say, oh, I've had this so many years. Oh, this experience was so traumatic. Oh, I don't think anything will help, because I've looked for help in so many places. And in some cases that might be true. We just haven't met them yet. because we find that there is always a difference that can be made when these basic mechanisms are, let's say, reset. And a great example of this is FIDA.
Yeah, so Faida, I mean, also had a lot of challenges in her life because she was kidnapped by one of the armed groups in Eastern Congo, where there is a conflict over all these minerals there. And she was kept with this group, and she was both used as a sex slave, and then she learned how to use a gun because she saw that then she was less abused. And then she was liberated by one of our colleagues who works there, Murabazi. And then she said that, you know, who am I now? You know, I've been raped by these soldiers, and I have learned how to kill, you know. And when she came back to her village, staying with her auntie, they wanted to send her back to the armed groups because she was angry. She had outbursts, you know. She was not nice. She had nightmares at night. She was screaming. And then I met her and showed her this tapping, and little by little she healed. And then one day after the third session, she came back and said, you know, I told my neighbors this morning, you know, I'm not the same Faida like before. I have been reformatted. I'm somebody different. And it was really true. And then after that, she started, you know, becoming like the Muganga, the local doctor, because people learned from her that she knew something that could help them. So that's the real Mika.
And one thing I learned from Gunilla, you know, and I practice ever since, is to regard every person that I meet, every one of you is a possible friend. Whether you become a close friend or not, it's up to you and me. But every person we meet is a possible friend. We walk your walk, we join you, and we come back. And by doing so, we avoid the whole paradigm of who is helping who.
Yeah, so that just returning is, and coming back and keeping in contact is something that has become part of our work. And we see this, that's how these rituals of healing are created also, because somebody we met a long time ago, they're still in contact, you know, and then somebody's going there. And that's why I always say, asking people, oh, so where are you going? Oh, I might know somebody there in Nicaragua. I might know somebody there in Australia. You know, we know somebody somewhere, or almost all the time. And it is like Dalai Lama also says, you know, that if you treat everybody you meet as an old friend, you will treat everybody very nicely.
Yeah. So we propose the following, that the whole mission is to start with the kids. If the kids are calm, they grow up into calm grown-ups. And then if, you know, as kids, we see anybody who is under 117. So everybody under 117 is a child that needs to be calm, because the part of you that is afraid is usually the part of you that was afraid when you were a kid. So we need to find calm, and that's how Gunilla came up with another brilliant method, because we have the Tia to smile, but this is another one.
Yeah, I mean, because finding calm is to create the safe space, isn't it? I mean, it's that feeling, that safety, to create the safe, or the healing zone. I mean, all different ways of saying that it is, you have to find calm to be able to heal, and then you yourself have to be calm too. And so we, you know, created different techniques, and this is one of them that also is very good and very healing and very cheap, also very simple. And we call it PTB.
Yeah, it stands for Pass the Balloon.
And Pass the Balloon is also something fantastic, because you have to look up in the sky, you engage yourself outside you, you know, nobody fails, and almost everybody starts laughing.
Yep. So, well, we're not going to go into the song now, but because we have around 23 minutes left, so we want to go straight into the actual doing self-tapping. And for the next webinar, which is the second one, you will bring somebody that you can tap on so we can see how you all tap. So you need to find calm, pass it on. The song you saw just 2 seconds ago, the tapping song, it's one of many songs, and you will get links to all of them. So that's a way that you can spread it. But now let's move into the method, and Gunilla will lead you through a wonderful and glorious tapping.
So Yes, so that was a bit about how, you know, we work in different places and the basis of this. So this fantastic technique we will go for, yeah, we'll see if we can, we will go with this TTT, which is very super simple. And many of you already do some tapping, but it goes like this, so we just do it together. So, I mean, because you use the points on the hand, in the face, and on the chest. So I'll try to sit up a bit like that. You see this struggling woman behind me there. So, so the way we do it is like, first you sit up, you put your feet on the ground, on the floor. So you sit up and take some deep breaths first, so that you ground yourself with your breathing first. You breathe in through your nose. Hold your breath for a little while, and then breathe out. So the out breath is longer than the in breath, and this is done also in the TTT. So you breathe in again with your nose. You hold your breath for a while, and then you breathe out slowly. Good. So now we'll just do the tapping without focusing on anything special, unless you want to do. If you have something, because that is the trick, it is to, you know, activate your mind on something that bothers you. That's the shortest instruction for TTT. It is think about something that bothers you, but just slightly, while doing the tapping on these points. So that's it. You don't have to tell anybody anything more, actually. So we just start here. So we do this together. You start on the side of the hand, you know, so it's like here. And we say that we do the tapping like 10 to 15 times. Winky in that cartoon, she does it 12 times. But it is more or less something like that. But nothing can go wrong. That's what's so fantastic with this tapping. Nothing can go wrong. If you forget one point, don't worry. Do it the next time or another time. If you do something longer or shorter or whatever. But it starts here. Okay. And then we go up here. I'll take off my glasses. Where the eyebrow starts, just above the nose. And you can do it with one hand or two hands. But when you do it on yourself, it's easy to do it with two hands. And then you just follow the eyebrows to the outside and then of the eyes, and then you tap here on the bone that protects the eye. Okay, and then go further up to the hill here of the cheekbone. And you're tapping not super soft and not too hard, and on yourself you will feel it, but we like to do it, you know, so that that it is, you know, precise, or, you know, a bit not super soft. And then you take one hand and you go under the nose. And then you pass around the mouth, so you go here under the mouth, between the chin and the underlip. Good. And now I hope it will not, my microphone will not sound too much. And then on the chest, we do it, I mean, there is a point that is just below the collarbones, but we do it all over the chest because, you know, this is to help you to open up, because the chest is where, I know, we have the heart and the lungs, and that's where we close when we're feeling, you know, anxious. So to help yourself, everything that opens up the body, that's why, for example, in yoga, so many exercises are opening, because opening to the world will make you open to life, you know. Because when we get depressed, we tend to close and down to the posture position. So it goes all over the chest here. It stimulates these muscles that holds in to expand. And then we do it under the arm. So it is like here on the side. And you can put the other one here on the other shoulder. And then it's here. So it's not up in the armpit, but here, just on the side, where there could be or is a bra strap, or where you know that there is on other people, or whatever. Good. And then we go to the fingers. So we go on the inside of each finger. So it is like on the inside of the little finger. And then you go to the ring finger. And then to the long finger. And then to the index finger. And now somebody's joining, Carol. So if you just and then the thumb. So Carol, if you just mute your mic, and then we will ask you to introduce yourself in some few minutes. And then you go back to the chest. So we do this chest twice, just because for some, it is, for many people, it has a very strong effect, this chest. We also actually call it gorilla tapping, because you know the gorillas, they tap themselves on the chest when they're feeling like, wow, this is good, this is my place, I am allowed to be here, you know, they do it very well. So that was that, and then you just release the arms, you relax the arms and the hands, and then you do that same breathing again. So you breathe in through your nose, hold your breath for a while, and then breathe out with your mouth. And you breathe in again, hold your breath, and then breathe out. And then we always repeat. So the sequence is twice. So then you do it on your other hand. So if you did with your right hand on the left, but now you change to the other one. You can do it on the same side. It's not, you know, but it's good to do things cross over, you know, when you cross the midline, all these movements that are crossover is good to make, you know, your brain alert and awake. So you go from there and then up here to the eyebrows, start, and then to the outside of the eye, and then to under the eye, and then with one hand under the nose, and that same hand around the mouth, and then the cheek, and then we come to the chest again. And then under the arm. I don't see if I don't have my glasses. But you know where it is. Very good. And then again the fingers. So now the little finger. And then the ring finger. The long finger. The index. The thumb. And then back to the chest. Wonderful. And now the breathing again. So you breathe in with your nose. Hold your breath. And then breathe out. Like a deep sigh. So you breathe in again. Hold your breath. And then breathe out. And after now, so now you just close your eyes for a little while and just notice, because this noticing and observing, that's really the basis of any possible healing, because you have to notice what it feels like in yourself and notice when there is some change. Sometimes it's a big change, sometimes it's a small one, but something will always happen, will always change that you can observe. And the more we observe our own reactions, the more we can decide how we act instead of actually reacting. So you just sit with your eyes closed for a little while, and then you go through your body. You start, you know, in in your head and notice what it feels like in your face and your shoulders, the chest, and trust the breathing and the back of your, and the back. The arms, even how they're hanging on your, perhaps on your lap or on the chair, or your hands, perhaps tingling a bit because of all the tapping. The thighs, knees, and then the feet to the ground, you know. And then just, again, take a couple of deep breaths. So you breathe in, hold your breath, and then breathe out. And then just come back to your room and to this session. Wonderful. Well done. So that is actually the basis of all this. I mean, that's how all this work started. It is just with this 2 sequences of tapping, these 13 points, and one of the points twice. And twice because we find that part powerful. I mean, for some kids you can only sit who don't fall asleep easily. You can just sit beside on the bed just using that tapping. And then the breathing, because breathing is so important, because breathing is our direct communication with our nervous system. And as you know, I mean, the in-breath activates your sympathetic nervous system. It's like, yeah, here we go, you know, here we're going to do things. And then with the out-breath, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the relaxation response that you know. So doing this and holding your breath for a while. We also recommend the breathing called 4-7-8 that you can do separately. But to hold the breath also balances oxygen and carbon dioxide, but also makes like the nervous system just hold for a little while, so it can, you know, say, start rebalance things. So rebalance this curve of, you know, activation and back to relaxation, activation and relaxation, which is so important because so many of us tend to get stuck up in the activation and not being able even to go down into relaxation response, which is that we came to in the PowerPoint, to find calm, which is the most important for anything of healing. Also when going to you know, surgery or other physical or medical issues. So this is the basis, the tapping of the points while thinking about something that bothers you, doing the breathing in between, and then observing. That's it.
And what I'd like to add to that is that we recommend that you do this just like washing hands. You do it regularly. You add this to your morning routine, maybe in the shower. You can do a little bit of tapping. That's an excellent place to do it. Or as you fall asleep at night, it will help you to sleep better and have a better recuperation in your sleep. Or when you wake up in the morning. And if you are prepared to spend these 3 to 5 minutes every day for 2 or 3 weeks, actually both research and our experience shows that it will change your nervous system. It will make it more resilient, and you will calm down things. Also, if you have something that you are experimenting with for yourself or somebody else during the time until the next webinar, for example, a craving or a pain or some kind of message that's knocking on your system, or some friend of yours. So when somebody has pangs of sorrow or urge for sugar or urge for alcohol or urge for something or despair, then just show them how to tap or tap on them if you have their permission, and see what happens. Because usually most urges actually calm down because they are a stress response. So should we spend the last 9 minutes with Q&A, Gunilla?
Yeah, I just see that 2 more people have joined since the beginning. So I just wonder who is Marianne and who is Carol, or if you just write something in the chat. So let's have some Q&A because there is no response from them. So whatever question you have, please, because we have 10 minutes. And then just before we finish, we can show you 2 more techniques. Very short. Please, go ahead.
So Mariana is a Havening practitioner. So you're mostly welcome. Warmly welcome, yes. So questions, reflections, how can I use this? What do I do? How long is a string?
Do you need to tap with just 2 fingers or any number of fingers is the question from Linda Simon. So in a way, as we say, this is a generous method. You can tap with as many fingers as you prefer, but not with 1, but 2 or more, because with 1 it becomes like not very comfortable. Unless you like it yourself, and then you get a bigger area. So that is the answer to that. Any number of fingers, just more. Okay, perfect. You're right. Any other question? Question: do we continue tapping with same focus until it feels gone? When it comes back, let's say it takes a few sessions, do we just focus again? That's from Chris. Actually, it is like often when I work with someone, I say, you focus on whatever bothers you, but if something else comes up, just let it come. So you don't get stuck, I should have continued thinking about that. Because often, even during one of these sequences, many things can, be like the layers of the onion be relieved. So depending on, the answer to most question is, of course, it depends on, because your communication with the person when you're working as with the client, so what was it? When it comes back, let's say it takes a few sessions. Thank you. Okay, so it can be that often things have changed, and then but it can be another layer, and behind, sadness can be anger, behind anger can be frustration. So all these things can, be taken off, or to say how do you say it when you peeled off? Good. Anybody else? So with EFT, there is a dialogue and rounds, but this is more like just letting trauma dissipate. Yeah, or evaporate. Yeah, it is like that. So we don't use setup phrases. And that comes from the beginning of this working with people who are traumatized, saying that these setup phrases can re-traumatize a person. But it also makes it possible to work over different languages, because it's very little you need to explain. For somebody, you need only this sentence, to say that you think about what bothers you.
Can I also jump in there just fast on that point? When it comes to talking, there are many different ways of looking at that. But the thing is, affirmations per se are not necessary. They're a reinforcement that came later in EFT. From the beginning, the idea of the setup phrase was to connect to whatever it is that you need to tap in, because you need to activate it neurologically. When it comes to affirmations like I love myself or I accept myself fully, for some people, research shows that will actually make them feel a bit better. But for some people, it will make them feel slightly worse, because if they don't feel better after saying it, they've failed. So there is a slight advantage to silent tapping, because it stays clean. The process is completely contained inside the person being tapped on.
Mm-hmm. So Carol now also asks, hi, I have trained in TFT and I'm a Havening trainer. Thanks for the webinars. What you said about observation is so important. Thank you, Carol. And then Melinda said, do you have the client person take SUDs, also subjective units of distress, reading before you start, then check it after? That is very good. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but that's, perfect. It's a way of checking both for you and the client. So that is very good, of course. And we use that when you do your certification that we hope you will do, you will see on the online, form, we are asking you for the SUDs before and after. So that's perfectly fine. Thank you. And then Chris, I know in EFT, talking just helps with person keeping focus on the issue versus drifting off. How to keep focus with TTT. Yeah, for us, we don't see it, most of the time, I don't see it necessary to help people keep in focus. But then, of course, when we work with clients, person to person. We do it in all different ways, and sometimes also using words. But this that we're teaching, like TTT, like this, it's to be able to work with groups of people in many different circumstances. So it's not that we never use words. I mean, Ulf is also a hypnotherapist, which uses a lot of words. And we do something that we call hypnotapping, because I also, so it all depends on your situation and what is possible. And if the person drifts off, then of course you will assist him or her to get on it again. But this work started in areas where people definitely don't need any help, unfortunately, I could say, to get focused. Was that an answer?
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you. And in addition to this, there's one more thing that we didn't speak about, where we actually do talk slightly, and that is, if you're tapping yourself, thank you, Jessica. Thank you so much. You can watch the end after if there's anything you missed. So if somebody goes into what is called an abreaction or flooding, which means that they get overwhelmed by an experience, then that can be very easily sustained by doing a distraction technique, which is anything from opening or closing the eyes, counting backwards, spelling your name, saying what date it is. But when it comes to flooding or abreactions, we usually get this question, how often does it happen? And I usually ask Gunilla, during these 10 years, how many times with thousands of people from the most extreme situations in the world have you had somebody go into a flooding or abreaction?
Yeah, and then I can say never. It has
That's
never
the same
happened.
for me.
Yeah, and that has been working with groups of people who have been living through a lot of abuse and war and so. And it is, I mean, we always, really stress that, think about it very lightly. You don't only have to go there, and then that window is, where the healing, where the activation of the brain and the nervous circuits are active, like for at least 10 minutes. That's what at least the hypothesis. And during that time doing this tapping, we have seen, severe, even people, having gone before you come into strong reactions, and then it just decreases. Yeah, we have big trust in this and from a lot of experience. So then Dan asked also, what is most effective, to have another person do the tapping on me or me doing the tapping on myself? Yeah, so
why don't we explore that until next time?
Yeah, please do that. So because the next time we ask you to bring somebody you can do the tapping on, because this is the Swedish specialty. It is to do tapping on somebody and not only on yourself, which is the way that most people do it in the US, which is perfectly fine, because it's wonderful that there is something you can do to help yourself. But it is also something different to do it for somebody. So then we will explore that. And now we even see Carol. How nice. Yeah. Hello, Carol.
So I think we're going to need to wrap it up. We are spot on time. So
in my experience, problems, this... No, say what, Bianca, what did you write? In my experience, problem...
It went too quickly off. In my experience, when problems are kept backstage, as you in a way do when you say think lightly, it works very, very well, whether it's EFT, TET, or TAT, or whatever. So you don't have to have them in front of you the whole time. They just keep them backstage in the kulisserna.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's where I am. These are the kulisserna.
That's what I thought of it, because you were there.
Yeah, you're backstage. That's wonderful. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining, and please come next time. We will go through this tapping with somebody else, the head holding and some self-havening and the breathing.
Thank you, Maria Isabel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will write you an email where you can look at the technique, and you can practice it with Winky and all the other videos on our website. And
somebody's asking when part 2 is. They're scheduled on our website on peacefulheart.se. Just look at certification process on the webpage. It says we list them there, and we have day 1 and day 2 are rolling. So if you miss the day 2 coming next, you can catch the next day 2 after that.
Wonderful. Please practice and just go for it, because it brings so much healing. So find calm and pass it on. Never forget to pass it on. You can do it even from after this workshop now. Just pass it on.
Reggie's going straight out into the community, aren't you, Reggie?
Yeah.
Okay,
have a beautiful day. We'll have a beautiful night. Thank you so much.